The difference between me and the ghost is that they were humans once. For me, there have been eternal darkness, but I can't complain. My job can be harder than theirs, with the same reward, so sometimes if the boss says one word, the invisible ones may get it wrong and mess the whole thing up. But not the ones like me. If we mess it up, suffering would be beyond words, so we should be prepared for anything. And for a demon, there aren't many cases to worry about. Hello everybody, I'm TheRubber. Today, we bring you the duty as a devil. Tonight, I have to make a visit. Some kids will go to an abandoned house to play Ouija for the first time. Big mistake. Why are humans always going through the most considerable pain just for fun? I haven't met the first soul who doesn't regret to have played Ouija. Humans are not worthy, but they're the rulers of the world, pieces in the god and boss's chess. We would be something like their knights. Do I love my job? Probably. I have to admit that taking souls is pretty fun at times, but can't avoid having the strange feeling of emptiness once the job is done. I talked to another demon, and it only said that that's our nature. That's how we are supposed to be, like those butt-kisser angels protecting those persons, like they were worthy enough to be saved. What do they care about? Back to these kids. I see there are 3 of them. One of them is scared as hell. Typical. And I can sense their inner feelings. They all think that playing Ouija is cool. I actually like this ability to sense feeling. Ghosts only know they have to be scary and say boo. Pretty cliche though. And they don't even know where to touch them to make their world an actual hell. Well, the big one seems to be the leader. Fine, I will let him be the last victim. I have this way of working that boss likes, where I mess with the more innocent people rather than go with the ones that deserve it the most. It's like rewarding bad behavior, and considering where I am from, it's a plus. The kids start lighting some candles. I think the thing's serious. I love when the affected are young, since they only can have 2 paths: eternal damnation or a psychological scar for life, which isn't any better. They're trying to summon the ghost of the person who used to live there. That's boring. Spirits have a limited repertoire of tricks, and possessing others is like their biggest thing. We can do way more than that. We can possess, create illusions, mess with their fortune, destiny, vision, and my favorite, bodies. Okay, I will expose my point now. When the leader says something like, "Oh, Lord of the Doomed, something something," I'll make my entry. Here we go. First, I'll blow out the candles. Then, I block the doors. The only way to escape is through the windows of the 2nd floor. They're in there, and I doubt that. Wait, no. When they are desperate, humans can be very impulsive without seeing the ramifications of their actions. I once saw a man that killed his brother just by thinking that he was a monster. It was actually me messing with illusions. He punched his brains out just for the fear, not for surveillance. These kids will have the shock of their lives. The process is going well, but as a demon, I can't take pleasure from their screams and sorrows. Ghosts usually do that, but it's because there are some leftovers of sentimentality in their psyche. It's sad to be them, but it's even worse to be these kids. One of them is getting a heart attack? I've never seen that on someone so young. This may count as an extra point. Leader 1 is running everywhere. And here comes the, "I'm sorry, I'll never do this again. This was a mistake," and my favorite, "God help us." Well, there's no God in this house, only me. I analyzed the whole situation, and I know they are like 2 miles away from the nearest house, so there will be enough time to do my tricks before anyone realizes they're missing. I think the best part of being a demon is that your approach to humans can be more palpable than ghosts, and proof of this is the melting hand of the younger one. Seeing his bones should cause a trauma hard to fight. Not even a pool of cockroaches can be compared. And talking about that, what about some spiders coming from their mouths? Yes, that works. You shouldn't have happiness or those kinds of emotions in this business. Still, you can be quite surprised by some reactions, like this situation. Camaraderie. The leader is helping the scared one to overcome with his melting hand, saying that God's not there, a phrase I truly enjoyed. So they have to be brave enough for themselves to surpass the traps of the quote-unquote evil enemy. It is funny how they call my boss in such pathetic ways, evil enemy. That's a redundancy. They all share a hug to be together in the end. That's admirable, yet stupid. Nothing can save these kids. And that's it. 3 new names in the files of hell. The house is again abandoned, with no trace of human interactions at sight. Sometimes I wonder how it is like to be human, not just possess them, but to be in their conditions. Their thoughts and emotions can be a web of chaos and confusion. Not even they may understand themselves, always looking for something more, thinking on ruling the world without repairing in us, the shadows that live, not under their beds, but in their hearts, their minds, and their actions. Someday, I may find someone who makes me change my mind on the subject, but until then, I remain as a prankster for both good and evil. I can't complain. Paul Motz was down on his luck. With mounting debt, he has no choice but to perform the ritual to summon the devil. For months, he had been lying to his friends and co-workers, luring them to his basement, and then killed them in cold blood. He then drained the blood from their bodies and burned them to ashes, as the ritual required a copious amount of human ash. God, I hope this works. It better. He drew the ritual circle with a mixture of various animal blood and human blood, some of which he had to offer himself, just as instructed in the manuscript. With all the preparations done, Paul set up the camera to record the ritual, in case a future preference was required for performing the ritual if needed again. All right, the moment of truth. Alakazam, I summon you, demon. Please heed my call and grant me your presence. The entire house began to shake, the walls shifted and the ground collapsed as a stream of flame and magma shot up. A throne of skulls emerged, with a sharply dressed devil in a suit sitting in it. It slowly got up and walked down from the throne towards Paul. You've summoned me, you poor, desperate soul. Now, let's make a deal, shall we? Hello everybody, I'm TheRubber. Today, we bring you SCP Foundation Euclid Class Object SCP-3061. SCP-3061, also known as Reluctant Fiend, refers to a series of rituals used for the summoning of an anomalous entity, designated as SCP-3061-1. Documentation and information regarding 3061 are extremely scarce. 3061-1 is barely mentioned in historical documentation or religious texts, occasionally being mentioned as an obscure and lesser-known demonic being throughout Irish mythology and minor religions. While research shows 3061 texts to have existed in excessively larger quantities in the past, a majority of 3061 remain lost or will fail to function even when the ritual is performed accordingly. Such cases have been confirmed to be caused by 3061-1 itself. 3061-1 is described to grant those performing the ritual some form of wealth or abstract power, often in exchange for the souls of their own offspring. 3061-1 predominantly appears human in the presence of Foundation personnel, as a humanoid male in its mid-40s, measuring approximately 6 feet tall. 3061-1 on occasion will manifest bearing physical features of various animals. The most common including the legs of a mountain hare replacing its own and extended fingers resembling that of an eye lemur. It is also capable of creating highly detailed and realistic illusions, which it is able to interact with as if real. 3061-1 cannot manifest such illusions outside the parameters of the ritual circle it is summoned in. 3061-1 describes these illusions to be used for presentation purposes when interacting with those who summon it. 3061 was recovered in May 2008 in an undisclosed location in Massachusetts, United States. 3061 was located after local Foundation authorities detected nearby anomalous activity within a nearby house. The owner, Paul Motz, was found to have obtained a book containing 3061 and had killed several individuals for ritualistic purposes. Investigation showed several close acquaintances of the suspect to have aided him in the killings and had planned to use 3061-1 for their own personal gain. 3061 was contained and all suspects were taken into Foundation custody. You have risked a lot for the mere sake of summoning me here. You know that. And by the looks of things, you've been busy. So tell me, what did you summon me for? What could you possibly wish of me? Well, you see, I need a lot of cash. Like, lots of them. Well, that's pretty straightforward. You're not exactly the most creative type, are ya? I can do that. But you must exchange something for me in return. It then reached out with its hand. A ball of blue fire appeared in its palm. It contained a still image of a young boy. Is that Tony? Yes.
You weren't prepared for such terms, weren't ya? I could come to another arrangement too, if you so desire. But it will… No, that's fine. It's perfect, actually. I have another kid too. I can give you Christy as well if you want. Wait, what? The devil was flabbergasted. For a few moments it struggled to find its words, while Paul waited with excitement. The fire in its hand disappeared. You do realize that I'm asking for your child's life, right? Yeah, I get it, so no worries. Do I have to wake them up now, or will you just take them? Are you actually serious? What? I don't understand. For Christ, do you even know what you're doing? Just tell me, what sort of debt are you in to make you do this? Well, mostly for my car, and home utilities and whatnot. What does this have to do with anything? Seriously? Bills? Freaking bills? Is that it? Why not call me up to do your damn taxes for you next time? If you don't mind, I'm sure we can arrange another deal for that. No, I can't do this. I'm out. Have fun cleaning all this stuff. Jesus Christ. Ugh, my head. With that said, the devil experienced a headache and dissipated. So was the headache because of your failing to comprehend Paul's action or your utterance of Jesus? A bit of both, I don't know. Ugh, just thinking about that scumbag hurts my head. You mentioned something about a deal, but you're not being clear enough. What did this deal involve? Well, here's the thing. Normally I come to those who are down on their luck. We don't just show up when anyone summons us. Don't want to make ourselves too public. It's just bad business practice, you see. It's nothing special. I've been doing it for centuries, cause it's easy and straightforward. Got a quick background check on this guy before responding to the summoning. He had pretty much no cash, lost his job, and things were probably only gonna get worse for him. So I figure, nice, this guy will be easy pickings. So I make an entrance with the big hole opening in the ground and all the dramatics, a throne of skulls and wrenching arms, and tell him I'll make him rich if he gives me his child. So what did he exactly do to upset you? He said yes. I'm sorry, but you're gonna have to explain that one to me. He said yes, with like zero remorse. Try to imagine this. Some big scary demon pops up out of Tartarus, or whatever the hell you mortals like calling our world, and the guy just simply agrees to a deal, one involving sending his child to a literal hell. What's more, he knew who I was. The smell alone told me that he'd practically soil himself at the sight of me. But it didn't matter that I was a demon, or that he knew what I could do, or that I wanted his kid. And it's only been getting worse. Less and less mortals are scared or even remotely agitated by me. They summon me like we're a frickin' takeout place. Well, that's a surprise. I'd assume you'd have no problem with someone saying yes. After all, that is what you were hoping for. It's not. Look, you don't understand, do you? It's less about the final luring and more about the baiting and fight they put up. We don't just dance around all la-di-da for nothing. Temptation is only satisfying when they're actually being tempted. You can't tempt someone when they just say yes. So what happened to his child? Oh, I never took them. To be honest, I don't even remember if I responded to the guy. Though I wouldn't mind taking his children without granting him the wish. But you'd be breaking the deal. You do realize I'm the devil, right? Years later, during a raid on a minor religious cult, several documents of 3061 were found. It is thought that the group had planned to use the documents to summon 3061-1. Investigation showed that the group had successfully gathered the required components needed for the ritual and had attempted to perform it, which upon doing so failed to summon 3061-1. The group was taken into Foundation custody. Following the incident, 3061-1 was summoned once again using 3061 for answers regarding the group. You people again. Surprisingly, I don't normally get this much traffic in this location. Yes, we were hoping to ask you about an incident relating to the cult group who last summoned you. Are you familiar with them? Oh, those guys. Yes, I've dealt with those idiots a few times. They're a bunch of slack-jawed imbeciles. Cling to whatever deity or higher power that will grant them whatever they want. You've met them? Several days ago, we acquired documents of the very same ritual used to summon you during a raid at one of their gatherings. We were wondering if you could tell us anything you knew about it. They tried summoning me, but I refused to heed their call. They've summoned me many times before, and they're always the same. They'd praise me, but they're the type to worship just about anyone that'll give them power. The needy ones don't act like they're worshippers. They come to me out of desperation. But that lot reek of it, even after they get what they want. They're no dedicated cult or longtime worshippers of the lower planes. They don't take satisfaction in sacrifice. They're just a bunch of drones dropping babies in circles of blood, hoping wealth and power will pop out. Well, if at all possible, we were hoping to ask you about any other groups or people with access to the rituals. Why? So I can use my power for good? Be an ally of justice and help you weed out the bad guys? Something like that? Don't forget that I'm a devil. I've been on this plane longer than you mortals. I can tell a deal in the making when I see one. I know your game, and you know I won't be that easily swayed. So, you're gonna help us or what? Whatever. I'm not just going to tell you about all the people that summon me, obviously, but I'm fine with helping weed out the ones who are majorly taking the piss. We can at least prevent certain groups from getting access to the ritual if you so desire. We will need your cooperation. Details regarding those you are summoned to and their locations would be extremely useful. Well, as far as identities go, I'm not helping you with that. Information gathering isn't my area. I can't do something like that without majorly stepping over the boundaries of some pretty big names. I can give you brief info like group titles, though that's nothing special. As for locations, I can keep it as brief as a basement in North Carolina or somewhere in Toronto, but that's all I'll say. That will do. We can arrange the rest of the details ourselves. We can even plan out an appropriate basis for when to contact you if you wish, so we can exchange information. As for fulfilling our end of the deal, we have huge batches of men and women. We call them D-Class. A bunch of criminals on death rows. Ex-cons, you get the picture. Just the lowlifes of the earth. Does that suffice? Did you really just offer me a frickin' deal? 3061-1 agreed to the arranged terms shortly after.